I am incredibly honored to introduce tonight 6 new inductees into the Cortland C Club Hall of Fame. Now, many times we talk about the tradition of athletic excellence here at Cortland, and this year's induction class is a great representation of just how that tradition, how wide that tradition has spanned over the years. Our inductees this year cover the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and even the 2000s. And our honorary inductee helps us cover all those missing years from the late 80s through now. So we have a nice representation across the board of this great tradition. Now, I've learned a lot of interesting things about our first inductee, Warren Kilmer. And I've only met him. I met him on the phone only a few months ago. You know, I got a chance to meet him in person here this weekend. Now, the least important of the stuff that I've learned about Warren is that for more than 20 years, Warren and I lived 3 blocks away from each other in Schenectady. Now, I didn't know him, and I don't think he probably would have known me, but I found that kind of interesting that we cross paths now after all these years. More importantly, here's what I've learned about how interesting and incredible of a person Warren is. I played baseball here under Chugger Davis. A lot of people know Chugger Davis as a longtime football coach here, but was also a great baseball coach leading up to before Bob Wallace took over. Warren batted .425 as a senior in the spring of 1955, signed with the Milwaukee Braves, played in the minor league system that summer for them, graduated January of '56, attended spring training with the Braves, and then went on to the Army. He was at the U.S. Army Special Services Unit for 2 years, then he taught in the Schoharie and the Schenectady school districts for about 12 years, then became an associate with the New York State Education Department's Bureau of Health and Drug Education, did that for 20 years. Then he consulted with the U.S. Department of Education and the ACO Company from 1990 to 98. So now at this point, I got this figured out. He's about 65 years old at that point, retirement, right? That's it. Most of us just kind of sit back at that point. No. If you've gotten to know Warren at all, you know that's not even close to being true. Still going strong now at the age of 80. One of the things is, you've probably seen in the program, he's known as the Banjo Man. He's been playing professionally, playing the banjo since he was 12 years old. He plays in the Vintage Baseball League down in Maryland, where he lives now. If you're not familiar with that or haven't read about it there in the program, they play with the 1860s rules with no gloves. He gave me some great photos the other day of him playing. He also comes back and plays in our Cortland baseball alumni games. And I saw some footage of him just recently taking some grounders, hit a line drive, hit some balls in the outfield, hit a line drive back at one of our star pitchers from a couple of years ago. And so I want to let Coach Brown know that I'm sorry. I know you graduated as second baseman, but no eligibility left for Warren, so you're going to have to find someone else to fill that spot. Warren will be throwing out the first pitch tomorrow when Cortland hosts Lemoyne in its annual fall game. So if you get out to that, you'll see Warren in action at that. So an incredible career, and at this time I present to you for induction into the SUNY Cortland C Club Hall of Fame, Warren "Red" Kilmer, class of 1956.
I'll get my notes out because we've been instructed that we have 5 minutes, and we're going to get a signal when we come to 5 minutes like this. So I'm going to have to move quickly. I'm going to get my glasses, etc. I don't need them for baseball, but I do for reading. I was up last weekend for the annual baseball tournament, etc. And I had a few minutes on Sunday before I drove back to Baltimore. So I went up to take a look at all of those faces and those pictures of those individuals in the Hall of Fame. I sat down and I'm saying, boy, there certainly is a lot of talent in that particular group. And I'm so happy that I have become a member of that team and a member of the C Club Hall of Fame. It's an honor, it's a great honor, and I will never forget it. I have a few more points. About Chugger Davis. Chugger Davis was a great baseball coach. The issue with Chugger is sometimes you have difficulty understanding what he was saying. He knew baseball, and he was very knowledgeable about the game. His specialty was in hitting techniques. He taught me a lot. A lot about hitting and keeping your weight on your back foot and the power. You know, when you stand up like this, okay? You don't over. Yeah, you can. This, for a right-hand batter, this is a power. I learned that. And I thank Sugar Davis very much for teaching me that about baseball. Education. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that I got a great education here. I remember my mom and dad talking to me when I was admitted, and they said to me, Warren, they called me JR because I was named after my dad. Number one, go for education. That's what we're extending you for. Number two, sports, music, and other activities. I looked at my dad and he didn't delineate what those activities might be. And I never asked. I was afraid to ask what he might say. I was part of the first class that graduated with a health education major. First class. A great program. A great program. Great teachers and a great program. And great, excellent instructors. But there was one superb instructor. And every time I come to Cortland, I think of him. Dr. Charles Poskanzer was a superb, not only a superb teacher, but he was a mentor and he was a friend. He and the other teachers provided a very strong foundation for me that enabled me to leave this academic institution to go out into the field and be successful in the health education field. I want to thank a few people. My son Bradley came in from California to be with me. Brad, thank you for being with me. A friend of mine, John Isabella, and his wife Sheila are here. John is a Cortland graduate and a great friend of mine. Played baseball for the great Bob Wallace, and is now the teacher in Schenectady and the varsity baseball coach at Schenectady. And then I have a student that I taught many years ago that's here with me tonight. I hadn't heard from him for a long time, and then all of a sudden I get to this unbelievable letter. I'll be honest with you. I read it and I cried. It's an honor to mention that Nick Richards and his wife Carmela are sitting at our table. I also have a very, very special person who's sitting over at that. Her name is Joan Scanzer. Joan, thank you so much. I invited her, but I didn't know whether you'd be able to make it. But you made my night by you coming, etc. And I believe that Chuck, your husband and my friend, is here with both of us tonight. I have one other special person, and that's my best friend and my wife. Unfortunately, she was unable to be with us this evening, but she emailed me a note about 2 or 3 days ago, and she said, "Warren, I'd like to have you read this. It's only about 3 or 4 paragraphs." She said, "I would ask you not to make any changes, no deletions, no additions, and no ad-libbing." So here's the letter from my wife, Judith. Warren and I have been married for 35 years. Throughout that time, SUNY Cortland has been an ongoing topic of conversation. Like many SUNY Cortland students today, the student Warren Kilmer was a first-generation student. Warren's mother immigrated from Ireland. Warren's aunt actually paid his tuition, without which he could not have attended college. At Cortland, Warren received an excellent academic education that provided a foundation for his life. He just finished reading the first volume of the 6th volume of The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. At Cortland, Warren received a wonderful baseball experience. Even today, Warren plays baseball, highly competitive, with a Maryland team of 30 to 40-year-olds. I am so sorry that I could not be with you all this evening. Thank you, Cortland, for extending this high honor to Warren. And let me just say, as I end, Cortland was a very, very important part of my life. So thank you, Cortland.